Hi warriors, and welcome back to another open, personal video, all about the 4 most important lessons that I learned about sex post-eating disorder recovery. I think this is quite a juicy topic, so definitely hit that thumbs up button, that subscribe button, and let's get to some of those details. First, as a little bit of a background to my story, I got my eating disorder at around the age of 13. I hadn't really experienced much of puberty yet, and then I obviously maintained my eating disorder for several years, meaning that my first real experience of puberty was when I was already 18, 19 years old. Throughout all this time, I didn't really have any interest in boys or girls, and my sexual desires were very, very low. Next, I had some negative experiences just before going to uni and then at uni. One being with a boy who threatened suicide, and next with a boy whom I thought I liked, but who clearly didn't appreciate the boundaries that I did try to establish, and who kept going and going until those boundaries were shattered. Neither experience was particularly reinforcing, so again, I pulled back from intimacy. I maintained my independence and wasn't very open to relationships until I met my current boyfriend. In this relationship, I've had to do a lot of letting go in order to foster a newfound sense of intimacy and closeness with a person other than myself. Through this, I've learned a whole lot. Lesson number 1. It's okay not to want to. It's okay not to want sex. It's okay not to want a relationship. It's okay not to want either one of these, or both, even when you're at a healthy weight. During my eating disorder, I didn't have any libido whatsoever. And that is not an exaggeration, nor is it a surprise. My hormones were terribly, terribly suppressed. So my body naturally didn't have any energy for anything other than food-related thought. It was starving. Never did I look at a boy or a girl and think, yeah, I'd tap that. When my parents gave me the talk, I tuned them out because it wasn't relevant. Even when I learned about sex ed at school, my grades weren't amazing because I found it embarrassing and I didn't dare even study for the topic. I thought sex was a taboo. It always had been. Low estrogen has a whole range of effects, from reducing sexual desire, reducing vaginal lubrication, all the way to vaginal atrophy. It may cause fatigue, apathy, persistent coldness, and low mood, and none of these things are particularly beneficial or particularly put you in the right mood. That's ignoring the effects that you might also be feeling from antidepressants or mood stabilizers that you may be taking during your eating disorder and recovery thereof. So it's really not that abnormal that your sex drive's a bit lower. Anyway, if you've got barely enough self-love for, well, yourself, how are you going to get close to anyone else? How are you expected to give up control, give in to the feeling, and let someone else so close to you when that makes you feel so vulnerable? Even once you gain weight, once you reach a healthy weight, all of these other factors don't magically disappear. You may still struggle with feelings of inadequacy, or setting boundaries, or letting anyone get close to you. And these can all be boundaries to enjoying relationship life, to enjoying sex, and to feeling pleasure in general. It was only several years into my recovery that my hormones rebalanced and I got my period back. It's only around this time that the concept of sex even became a thing in my mind. And even then, it filled me with fear rather than excitement. After all, I'd always been taught the importance of that first time, and church has always rammed home that message that sex before marriage just shouldn't be a thing. Everything I'd learned so far in my life stood in my way now. In addition, I didn't feel like I deserved letting go. I didn't feel like I deserved pleasure. And whilst body dysmorphia wasn't the main issue per se, I didn't feel comfortable enough about my own body. I barely even knew my body. In the end, sexual desire and satisfaction require a certain confidence. They require submission, hormone balance, self-love, and a whole range more. Just being weight restored, whilst this greatly helps and shouldn't be undervalued, isn't the only factor involved. So, if you're not ready, you're not ready. Also, even though society seems to deem this impossible, if your sex drive is simply lower, that is fine too. Libido isn't a light switch. Everyone is unique. The second main lesson I learned is that if you do rediscover your sexuality, take ownership of it. Allow yourself pleasure. Embrace it. During my eating disorder, I allowed myself no time to be unproductive. I allowed myself no time to relax, to just enjoy some me time. However, what is life if you're just working and working and working, never once stopping, standing still, enjoying the beauty? Had you asked me just a few years ago, what is the purpose of sex? I would have responded, babies, and nothing else. Well, maybe to satisfy a partner, but my answer would never have referred to my own pleasure. The problem with this kind of thinking is that it becomes way too easy to overstep your own boundaries. As a result, you might end up feeling used, simply a vessel of someone else's pleasure. It's something that I vowed to never do again. My body does so much for me. It deserves my respect. And looking back, it just seems so silly. By respecting your own body, you demand respect from others as well. And I think that is a solid basis for an intimate relationship. Self-denial is not. So, compliment your partner. Compliment yourself. Accept compliments from others. Wear the clothes that make you feel good. Do the things that make you feel good. Build up your confidence, but always respect your own boundaries as well. The third very important lesson I learned was that things aren't black and white. You can change your mind, and it's okay to take things slowly. If your partner, if your friends, if your family, if people around you respect you for who you are, they will respect your decisions too. So don't beat yourself up about your teenage infatuations or your grandmotherly approaches. Equally, don't beat yourself up if you have no idea what you're doing. It all passes. It all finds a balance. And if you have certain traumatic experiences from your past, be all the more careful. Get professional help if you can and if you feel like it might be useful. Look after yourself as you would a friend. It takes time to challenge your preconceptions. It takes time to push your comfort zone. It takes time. So give it time. For me, my eating disorder was born out of a want to stay small and not accept my sexuality and my femininity. In fact, it was a way to diminish my sexuality, to remain a child, to withdraw emotionally from pain and shame. I first experienced sexual harassment aged 13, and I blame my developing body. Weight loss felt like a way to escape this objectification. So I did. And gaining weight, accepting my new body, accepting my femininity, that was a challenge. And it required breaking a lot of maladaptive beliefs and thoughts that I'd held for so damn long. I had to acknowledge that sexual desires self-regulate, that they are not gluttony, and that letting go of control does not mean losing control. It is by opening up to my partner, by challenging my beliefs, and through experience, gradually, that I learned these things. It is by pushing my comfort zone, but only when I was ready, that I made it through. The last thing I learned was to let go of society's norms and expectations, because they are BS. Explore, alone or with a partner, and find what works for you. Talk about it. Share your experiences, feelings, thoughts, boundaries, and listen to those of other people. Open communication is key. Everyone is different. Whatever you feel, your experiences, they're valuable. These are all the things I learned about. But there's also a lot of things that it taught about me. It taught me to accept my body, to communicate my feelings, to love someone, and to allow them to love me back. I learned to relax, to let go, to laugh about things. I discovered my boundaries and how to communicate them clearly. I learned to see myself anew and to view my own body through someone else's eyes. Intimacy, whatever this means to you, can be eye-opening. It can teach you many valuable lessons, and these are some of mine. What about you? Let me know below the kind of things that you have learned, and which of these really resonates with you most. I'd love to hear from you.